Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In previous videos we've looked at setting up our props and our controller and our sequences on X-Lights. But when it comes to show season, how are we best playing those sequences out to the controllers and to the props? Well, the obvious answer, if you're on Windows, is to use Xscheduler, but that's not available on Linux or on Mac. And do we really want to tie up our Windows PC for the whole of the show season? Probably not, because these are good machines and we want to be using them for other things during the period, not having every evening where we can't risk touching the computer because it's busy playing the show. Now fortunately there's an answer to that, and it comes in a little piece of software called FPP, or formerly Falcon Player, that runs on a tiny little Raspberry Pi or similar single board computer that will take the sequences we can upload to it from X-Lights. It connects to our network, so we can set it all up, set the schedule on here, and then this little Raspberry Pi computer will handle running the data out to the show controllers and to audio, etc. through the show season. So we don't have to tie up our dedicated Windows or Mac machines. It can all be done by this, and we can just let it get on with it. So how does it all come together? How does it work? Well, our little Raspberry Pi, if I take the lid off, it's just a little single board computer in there which has Ethernet, it has some USBs and then power and stuff on the side. Now I've got plenty of in-depth videos on FPP, so I'm not going to go too deep at this point. But on this one, all we're going to do is we're going to plug this into the network and demonstrate how we can save a sequence on X-Lights, how we can push the sequence over to FPP, and how we can configure FPP to tell it what props are connected to what controller, etc. Now it all sounds a bit complicated, but it's very much an easy thing to do these days, and is definitely recommended as the way forward come show season. So let's get it plugged in and we'll run through setting it up from X-Lights, and then we'll demonstrate playing a sequence on here to wrap up. Now my first issue that I've got on the workbench here is that I've only got a single Ethernet cable coming to the workbench. Now my controller needs Ethernet and the Pi also needs Ethernet. My laptop is on wireless, so not too worried about that at the moment. So how do we get extra ports? Now the quick and simple answer is we need a little thing called a network switch. This is a Netgear GS308, a very simple little switch, and it simply has 8 RJ45 or Cat5 style outputs on it, which we can plug things into. And what it does is it takes the data from whichever port it's coming in from, it has a look at it, and then it switches that output to whichever of the other ports it needs to go to. So that's why it's called a switch, because it's switching packets between ports where it sees where things need to go. So I can take my single network cable that's coming into the desk and plug it into one of the ports, and then I can plug my controller and my Pi into 2 of the other ports. And that's still going to leave me 5 ports free on this one, so lots of space to expand. And we can add controllers to other ports or other devices. If I wanted to connect my laptop up physically, we could connect that to one of the ports, etc. Now this one is a 12 volt switch, so if we're building a 12 volt box, that might be convenient as well. But in this case it's running off the mains. So let's get this powered up. There's no configuration on this. This is what's called an unmanaged switch. So it's just plug and play. So we've just got to give it some power. There we go. And the lights are, if we look at it this way around, there we go. We've got a power light. So that's showing us that it's ready to go. And then I can just take the network cable out of my Baldric, plug it into the switch, and there we can see we've got a connection light on the switch, so that's ready to go. I can then take another couple of little cables. I've got a couple of short Ethernet cables here, and I can use these then to connect to my Pi and to Baldric. So there's one in there for that. This one's still got a cable tie on it, so let's just get that off. There we go, get rid of that. So there we go, we've got our two cables plugged in now. One can go into our Raspberry Pi, like so. There we go. And the other one can go into Baldric. There we go, that's done. Now, the Pi here needs a USB-C power supply, so I'm just going to plug that in as well. And there we go. So we can already see that we've got activity lights between Baldric and the incoming Cat5 from my router. There we go, and the Pi is now lit up as well. So all three are now talking to each other. So that's as technical as the networking bit needs to be. We've just got a simple unmanaged switch, and this just acts as like an expansion, like a four-way socket type thing, or an eight-way socket in this case. Now I have a small sequence set up in X-Lights, so let's just demonstrate that working, and then we'll show you how we can push that across to FPP. We can configure the FPP output so it knows where to send the data to, and then we can show you a quick run through of some of the features of FPP. So under my sequencer tab, I've just got a single little pinwheel effect, and if I do output to lights, there we are, we can see that the little pinwheel is running around demonstrating the sequence. So I'll turn that off again. Now under the controllers tab, we can see that we've just got the one controller configured, and that is our Baldric here. So to upload this information to FPP for both the sequence and the configuration, all we need to do is to go into Tools and FPP Connect. It's then going to have a look on the network for any instances of FPP it can find, and there we are, it's found one. So we can check that that's what we want to be uploading to. The sequence that we're going to upload is called Pinwheel, and then across the top here we're going to tell it the type of FSEQ file, which would normally be v2 sparse. We're going to tell it that we want to upload the models, that we want to upload the connectivity information, which is UDP, and we haven't got a playlist at the moment, and we haven't got a hat or a cape configured. So we're set for all on models, all on UDP, FSEQ type is v2 sparse, and this is the sequence that we're going to upload. So I'm going to hit upload then. There we go, and nice and quick because we've only got one simple little model, and it's sent it across to FPP. Now if I go back to Tools and FPP Connect, we can just click on the IP address here to open the web interface to the FPP instance, and here it is. So it's all set up, ready to go. We can see now that we've got a sequence here, and that's the pinwheel sequence that we just uploaded. And if we go to Input Output Setup, Channel Outputs, we can see that X-Lights has configured FPP here with the name of our controller, the type of data, its IP address, and the channel information. So FPP now knows where to send the pixel data to come showtime. So if we go back to status control and status and I play the sequence, it should play from here just the same as it did from X-Lights. And it does. Lo and behold, there is our sequence playing, this time powered by our Raspberry Pi. So there we are. Come showtime, we've taken our PC out of the loop. The Pi is now capable of running it. Now at the moment I've got these wired directly to our network, but if you're outside in the front yard and it's not convenient to get cabling out there, you can always take the Pi, which has Wi-Fi on board, and you can plug the Pi in directly here to your controller. So you can take your link back to the house out of the equation and link back via Wi-Fi to the Pi, but then run your show directly from there to there. So that adds a little bit of simplicity to building everything, because you haven't got to try and get Ethernet out to your front yard. You do need to make sure that you've got reasonable strength Wi-Fi out there first though, so you might need to juggle the positioning of your router or your Wi-Fi access point. Once we've got all of our sequences loaded onto the Pi, we can then set up a playlist, so a list of all of the songs or sequences that we want to play and the order that we want to play them in. And then we can put that playlist into a schedule so that it starts and stops at specific times. Now I will go into this in more detail, so don't stress too much, but this video is just designed to give you an overview of the sort of things that you can do. So I'm going to go into content setup and playlists. Now I'm going to create a new playlist and it's going to have the amazing one sequence in it, but it's a good demo. I'm going to call it Pinwheel Playlist, and then we can add items to it. So we're just going to add a sequence. We've only got one on here, and we can add that, and then we can save the playlist. So there is our playlist created with our single sequence in it. Now if we then go for content setup and scheduler, we can then tell it when this playlist is going to start. So I'm going to add a new one. The start date is today, so the 6th of April, and it's going to run until the end of 2030 unless we tell it otherwise. So I'm just going to bring that back to 2025. We'll make that April the 6th, so it's going to end today as well, every day, and that can be configured to specific days or specific odds and evens, etc. At the time, so what time do you want to start it? It's now 12:26, so I'm going to set that to 12:28 p.m. so I can just go to 12:30, and then I can adjust this manually to 12:20. Let's go for 12:27 and see if we're quick enough. The playlist is Pinwheel, and then we're going to stop at the end. So graceful just means it's going to finish the sequence and then stop. And the end time I'm going to set on this is going to be 12. Let's go for 12 midday, 12 p.m. I'm going to set that to 12:28. There we go, and save. There we go. Now hopefully I just got in there in time. Yep, we're still at 12:26. Oh, look at that, we've just clicked over. Right on cue, and the playlist has started. Now, this is running and will continue to run until 12:28, at which point it will do a graceful stop. Now that means that it will continue the sequence that it's on, and it will stop at the end of that sequence. Now the other options are a graceful loop, and that means it would get to the end of your playlist and then it would stop. Or we have a hard stop, which means at 12:28, mid-sequence, it just stops. So graceful is normally the one I go for, so it finishes nicely at the end of the sequence that's running. Now if I go back to status and status, we can see that it's currently running, it was currently running the Pinwheel playlist, and it had the player status as playing up there and all the details of the sequence. Now if I just start this one, we'll just start the sequence manually. There we go, we can see now that it's playing Pinwheel FSEQ. It's there, we can see the elapsed time, so it's a 30-second sequence, so we can see that we've elapsed about 14 seconds with 16 to go. If it had volume, so if there was audio involved in the sequence, we can set the volume levels over here, and we can see where it is in the main playlist. So it gives you a good idea of what's going on, and you can keep an eye on this remotely. So through the Wi-Fi IP address, if you've got it out in the front yard, or in this case we've only got one IP address. So it gives you an idea of what FPP is up to, and you can configure it all through this web interface. So there we go, we've got the sequence up and running on our prop. I can shut down FPP demo, I can shut down the Baldric board. That's telling us where it's getting our data from, so we can see that it's getting us from 4.6, which is the IP address of the Pi. We can shut all of that down, we don't need any of it. Drop us back to a bare Windows screen there, and the sequence is all running because we're not using the Windows PC at all anymore. Now personally I find this a brilliant solution. It means that the laptop can be used for other things like recording the videos, and my playlist can be doing its thing out the front. And as long as the Pi has got power a few minutes beforehand so that it can get network time sorted out, then we know the playlist is going to start when we expected it to. Now this sequence appears to be continuing and running multiple times, so let's just jump back on and have a look and see. And I have got the repeat checkbox enabled over here on the right hand side, and that is why my sequence is repeating itself. And for some reason I can't uncheck that, so I'm just going to stop now. There you go. That needs to be unchecked before you press play, and that's why it was continuing to run. So there we go, a short one again this week, just giving you an idea of what FPP, or Falcon Player as it's otherwise known, can do for you, and why you should consider that when you're thinking about all of the logistics of putting your show network together. Now this one is running on a Raspberry Pi 5. For noobs, that's overkill, to be fair. In my previous Pi Wars video, which I'll link to up here, we proved that the Pi 4 2GB variant is pretty much a good setup for everything that you could need for FPP. Pi 3B Plus still works well before that if you've got one, but if you're buying new, then the Pi 4 2GB is the way to go. So I hope you found that useful. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, etc. And if you're in the Southwest US, don't forget to have a look at the Christmas Expo website. Christmas Expo is a great opportunity. It's what we call a mini which is a group of where a group of enthusiasts can get together. Lots of vendors are going to be there selling their latest wares, lots of seminars. Ron Howard is going to be doing his X-Lights 3-day intensive, and I'm going to be working with him on that. So I'll be in the room helping make sure that everybody keeps up, and if anybody gets stuck, we can help them along. So I'll be over there for that. Don't forget to say hi if you're there, and if you're not there, why not? Take it easy. See you on the next one.